Hey everybody, my name is Brandon Scott and welcome to the Fandom Pastor, which can be found on our YouTube channel, Facebook page, or podcast. The Fandom Pastor is for all of us who love our fandoms and our faith. Fandoms are anything that somebody has a deep love for. Harry Potter, Broadway musicals, cult films, to name just a few. Join the Fandom Pastor as we see how God is connected to it all. And don't forget to share, like, and subscribe. Hey, all, this is Pastor Brandon with our next episode of the Fandom Pastor. Uh, we have started a new series a few weeks ago entitled Lessons from the Arcade. These are, all sorts of different arcade games and such. I know personally I spend a lot of hours at the local mall in the arcade, and I have no idea how many quarters I pumped into those machines. For a while, arcades were going to the wayside, but now they seem to have this nostalgic reemergence. You can buy your own cabinets. The arcades are even come back in the form of the traditional arcade, as well as in bars and other things like that. So, our clue from last time is that this arcade game was featured in the movie Toy Story, in which it was a joy to be chosen. We're talking about the claw machine, or as the little alien critters called it in Toy Story, the claw. Now, if you've ever played the claw machine, I mean, they're designed to be hard. They're designed to almost be impossible. In fact, some less than scrupulous owners of these machines will loosen one of the claw arms, one of the claw fingers, I guess. I don't know how you want to call it. I mean, there was always ways that they would make it very difficult. And quite honestly, it was so frustrating. I hated the claw machine because it seemed like I could never beat it. And yet we know people have won on it, and we've seen people who have gotten the skill and learned how to do different things. Um, but not everybody has that ability. It doesn't mean that the rest of us are no good at games. We're just not necessarily skilled or ready to play that particular game. 1 Corinthians 12:4-6 says there are different kinds of gifts, but the same Spirit. There are different kinds of service, but the same Lord. There are different kinds of working, but the same God works all of them in all. That's the thing we need to understand, that, yeah, we may not have the skill set or the ability to do a particular ministry, a particular project, particular different whatever it is. And it doesn't mean that we're not able to serve God. It doesn't mean that we're not able to do what God is calling us to do, but we're not always able to do it under our own power. And we're certainly not all called to do the same thing. As I've said to people within the churches I serve in, not everybody is called to preach from the pulpit. In fact, that is one of the, to some extent, least important gifts that are given by God. Those who have the gift of hospitality, those who have the gift of prayer, those who have all these other gifts, even though God doesn't rank them, and Scripture doesn't rank them as more important or less important. Honestly, the ones that are reaching out and serving God, though, they have a very unique gift, and it needs to be recognized. It needs to be understood that, yeah, you may not be able to do this, but God didn't give you the gift to do that. God didn't give you the gift to maybe work in youth ministry, but that doesn't mean that you don't have other gifts. And we have to understand too that the spiritual gifts that are talked about, that list or the list that we see of different gifts, that's just a small part. That's not all of the gifts that God gives to his people. God gives all sorts of gifts, and we can't be limited by just what is listed in Scripture. God gives way more because it's God. God can do whatever he wants. Whatever she's calling us to do, we'll be receiving those gifts. So understand that we all have wonderful, wonderful places to serve God, and we're not all designed to do every one of them. Something to think about. Next time, we continue our lessons from the arcade series. Our clue for next time is that this arcade game was originally called Megura Taji and was invented in 1975. Thanks, God bless, and see you next time.